俺の財宝か？欲しけりゃくれてやる。探せ！この世のすべてをそこに置いてきた。
Yo guys, and welcome to this new video. It looks like we left for a moment the fights of the two lions to focus on Noelle, Mimosa and Asta, in a chapter evidently less intense than the previous one, but at the same time including new interesting hints and information. But before we see them in detail, make sure to subscribe the channel and hit the notification bell so that you can know immediately when I put a new video on YouTube. Alright, with that said, let's jump straight into it. It looks like Noelle's element advantage on Fana won't be as useful as one could have imagined, and I find really interesting how her offense, that is the strongest point of her magic, which on the other hand started as a defensive one because of her insecurity and of her gentle nature, is completely useless, or seems completely useless in this situation. It looks like the confidence, the strength, the everything she was able to acquire up to this point are now questioned for the very first time. It will require every tiny bit of the resolution she got from her life in the Black Boots to overcome this obstacle, and the success will put her one step closer to the person she wants to become. However, it would be an incredibly difficult task, and in my opinion there are only two ways in which she could succeed. The first one is trying to exhaust Fana's ability to regenerate, so arriving at the point where she isn't able to heal herself anymore, or she could try to seal either her body or her mana. However, Noelle's magic doesn't look suited for this type of action. It could also be that someone will come and help her, maybe Yuno himself that we know entered the Shadow Realm at the end of this chapter. Meanwhile, Asta and Mimosa are not in a better spot. Indeed, Lil's magic seems as limitless as Dorothy Onsworth's one, and considering their specific characteristics, they can only try to cut their way through those gigantic living paintings. Moreover, I don't really know how Charmy will be helpful in that kind of situation, but it's also true that we don't know too much about her magic. We know the eating side of it, the recovering mana side of it, but nothing more if we exclude the giant punching ship. And this is what makes her introduction interesting, because introducing a person that is exactly the right one, exactly what you needed in a particular context, makes what comes next kind of boring. Now instead they will have a very hard time trying to adapt themselves to the opponent, trying to find the right strategy that suits their characteristics and the specific defense of the enemy. And all of that will make their tactics and the fight itself way more interesting and substantial. Talking about Charmy, I must say that I didn't expect her to be involved in the Shadow Realm part of the arc, while on the other hand Yuno's involvement was pretty much sure. And while the way he enters confirms a connection between the stones, the magic stones, and the realm itself, that moment also gives new information about the mysterious bird, Nero. We already knew he had some sort of connection with the stones, but in this chapter the impression is that he wanted to stop Yuno from entering the palace, probably because he knew the stone was the key to complete the Elbe's resurrection. However, at the same time, it's strange that, being him so concerned about that, he didn't take this second occasion he had to enter the palace himself. And all of that can only underline what was already evident from everything we saw before, the fact that the relationship between that bird, the elves, and the realms of the deaths is very complex. And considering how the author is trying to underline it more evidently in this phase of the arc, it's possible Nero will be involved more directly, but since he's outside now, this could mean that for some reason and somehow the final phases of the fight will move outside the castle. But for now, what will be the most interesting development is probably whether Yuno will completely become an elf or not. we may even discover something more about his and Asta's origins. And in that context it will be interesting to see how the rivalry between the two will evolve. And while we wait the next chapters to show us more, that's all for this video. Thank you very much for watching, don't forget to leave a like and make sure to subscribe the channel. Then see you next time. Già ne?